Hello, I'm Dominic Patton, Senior Editor at Deadline Hollywood, and welcome again to one of our virtual Sundance studios. Now, we've had some big stars join us at Sundance in person and virtually over the years, but there is a member of a very rarefied pantheon of talent joining us today on day 2 of the semi-virtual Sundance 2021 Festival. Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony winner, and among other honors, Presidential Medal of Freedom recipient, Rita Moreno, who is the subject, title kind of gives it away, of the documentary Rita Moreno, Just a Girl Who Decided to Go For It. The passionate and star-studded film debuts today at the semi-virtual Sundance with a second screening on January 31st and will air later this year on the small screen on PBS's American Masters. Along with the West Side Story and One Day at a Time actors, we are joined by the directors of the film and 2 of the producers. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Now, Rita, I have to ask you, there's a line right near the end of the film, and I don't feel like we're giving away any spoilers of anybody who knows you. You say something at an award ceremony that really, really landed with me. You say, "Damn the shadows and here's to the light." And I wanted to know, looking back at your career, what that statement means when you say it.
Exactly what it purports to mean, which is enough with the dark stuff, enough with the misery, enough with the unhappiness. It's all light from now on. And that is exactly how I feel. And it's a good thing because my hair is now very light. And I love that saying too. I'm glad you like it. Yes.
Well, I mean, I just think there's so, this film.
Oh, you know what? You should keep your glasses off. You're really cute.
I have my moments. I'm going for the full Elton John today. So one of the things also in the film is, so many of us know your career and we've seen you on the big screen, the small screen, the stage, and what have you. But this film, and I would like that, directors and producers jump in too here. You decided here to go down some very personal roads. Tell a lot of stories about your life, about your marriages, about your relationships, about discrimination and battles that you fought in your career very early on, sexual harassment in Hollywood, then and now. Why was that the direction you guys wanted to take this film?
Well, why don't you ask our director?
From the very beginning, both Brent, Ilya, Rita, and I, we wanted this documentary to be more than just showing Rita's accolades and her career. We thought that a documentary should show more than that. And the idea was always to be able to go in depth in her life, and because we wanted for people to be able to know her as a human being and as someone who can inspire other people, not just because of what she has accomplished, but because what she has really accomplished as a human being in her struggles and hardships moments throughout her path to stardom. So that was always our main focus, to be able to see her vulnerable, to see her fragile, to see her without makeup, to see her driving.
I didn't love that.
All of that.
I didn't know, but I made a
that's
promise.
the nature of superstardom.
I made a promise to myself that if I was going to do this, and it's Brent who really let me know what he had in mind, which is very much what Miriam has stated. And I thought, if I'm going to do this, I really have to be as truthful as I possibly can, or why bother? And I really meant that. And I kept the promise to myself, but I'm not happy about the no makeup stuff. I'm an actress after all. And I am a bit of a ham.
Well, I have to say, if you're going to compliment me with the taking off of the glasses, I'm going to have to say you're a beautiful human being and you still look pretty great without the makeup.
Oh, you're very kind. Thank you.
Not a lot of people would let the cameras follow her home in a ball cap at the end of a long day of shooting and still pull it off.
True. But that was the deal I made with me. And, also, Brent said something interesting about what this film is not. Brent, remember what you said about the clips?
Yeah, well, I think that, so often when you do a documentary on an actor or an actress, you can, there's a dangerous zone of it becoming just a clip reel. And we didn't want that to happen.
What's a clip reel? Explain to the audience.
I mean, all of the films and the television shows and everything you've done and those roles you played, and just kind of featuring that, and it becomes just a very superficial storyline.
And I often find when I watch those kind of films, they always have the "I remember that show" moment, but they don't have the depth and the scope that you guys have. Ilia, there's a lot of other voices that are brought into this film. There are a lot of other clips that aren't also Rita's films. You see President Obama, you see many other people in here. You see things like the March on Washington, the Civil Rights March in the 60s. What were some of the challenges in deciding what to put in and what to keep out?
Well, we had the task of finding the footage, and we had great archival producers working on that. But the hard task was really Mariam's and the editor Kevin Clover to put together sequences that would make sense and would be, about certain topics that we wanted to discuss, and then leaving out whatever, couldn't make the cut.
I'll tell you my
but it was
favorite cut.
definitely,
Oh,
what was
sorry,
that?
Go ahead.
No, it's okay.
Sigue,
Well-
sigue, adelante.
But it was definitely a hard task. But we ended up with, sequences that are strong and that really tell Rita's story.
Brent,
My favorite clip in the whole thing, it surprised me because I didn't even know it was on film, was when I take my little baby daughter at the time to a rally where I was supposed to give heart and encouragement to young people of color, particularly Puerto Ricans, Latinos, Black kids. And the babysitter didn't show up. So, I went and carded Fernando with me. And I didn't even know, I honestly didn't know that I had that somewhere in my house on film.
Is that's the clip where you tell people to be proud and to fly
Yes.
their own flag? Yeah. And look, as the father of a young daughter myself, that is like among your top accomplishments in my mind now. That was some serious mummy work, really work.
Oh,
But-
thank you.
Brent, you and Rita have worked together most recently on the One Day at a Time revival. Going into this film, how is it different for you working with her as a documentary subject as opposed to working with her as an actor in the sitcom?
He was surprised a lot.
Ah,
I mean, I think it's such a more personal kind of experience, because as we said, we wanted to really dig deep with Rita, and fortunately she trusted us, and trusting us that we would tell her story in the way that we feel from our perspective that it should be told, and primarily this is the story of how we found Mariam, or I should say Mariam found us, is that her son is Marcel Ruiz, who plays Rita's grandson in One Day at a Time. And when we were looking for a director, we wanted to make sure A, that she was a female, and B, Latinx. And I had put out this search, talked to a handful of directors. All of them that came in they all gave me their treatments that they wanted to share with us. And Mariam had said to us on the set, "Hey, I hear you're looking for a director. I'd like to throw my hat in the ring." So she did. And out of all those treatments, we removed everybody's names, and hers was the very best, that ultimately we felt was the vision that we wanted to get behind. So
I also like to mention that it was her concept to use the paper dolls, which I think is just so lovely, and it's so sweet and feminine. I love it.
Mariam, for people who have yet to see the film, can you just give us a little tease of what Rita means by that?
Yeah, we have a stop animation throughout the documentary, and it shows Rita in different moments of her life as a little girl all the way to her now, and it shows how Rita for so long had to be whatever everybody wanted her to be with the clothes that she was put on. She had a facade, and I feel that the documentary shows how she finally, in these past 10 years, she became who she really is, and she doesn't have a facade anymore. She is who she is, and I hope the documentary inspires everyone, not only women or immigrants, everyone to become who they really want to be, because that's what she shows the most in the documentary, to be self-aware.
But those
and
paper
to
dolls are
work for them.
so charming. The animation, I mean, I love the little paper doll Rosita.
The animation was the Puerto
looking
Rican
like
who
that.
did it, actually.
Because you talk about near the beginning of the documentary, you talk about how your mother, Rita, dressed you up like a little doll. And then the motif continues throughout. I wanted to ask, Rita, your career has been an inspiration to all of us, inside and outside the industry, people of all different stripes and backgrounds. For you, looking at this documentary, was there anything, and I know you've talked about the speech where you had your child in your arm, but looking at this documentary, was there anything that you were like, God, I forgot about that? Or, God, you know what? I never looked at that like that. Now I see it.
Absolutely. There were a bunch of things. The thing that was the most difficult for me personally was talking about the failure of my marriage, because it was a 46-year marriage. I mean, when I do things, I mean it.
You commit.
But that didn't work out, obviously. And that was the hardest thing for me to talk about, mostly because I wanted to be absolutely certain that the audience understood that he was a wonderful man. He's passed on, but he was a wonderful human being. It's just that it turned out that we didn't do well together. The people make contracts when they have relationships, and they're never spoken about. The contract in our case was, I'll be the little girl, you be the daddy, and you take care of me, and everything will be wonderful. And then there comes a time when the little girl wants to grow up. And that's when the trouble starts. And it's very sad. He was a very controlling man. And that was all right for at least 7 years. But out of the 46 years, I was not a very happy person.
Well, this film gives us a real sense of a career, which I think in those, looking at those dark places and also looking at the bright lights, as we talked about in the beginning. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us today. We really appreciate it. If you're joining us for today for this Sundance, virtual Sundance studio, we thank you. Join us throughout the festival. We'll be back with myself and many of my colleagues talking to people, filmmakers and talent about the films. Until then, I'm Dominic Patton for Deadline Hollywood. See you soon.